I'm not normal. I graduated from business school, got a full-time job, and then lockdown happened, and I decided to start a YouTube channel. Now, while that might seem like the smallest thing to you, it's far bigger to me because it recognizes a big shift in my life, a shift from believing that I am supposed to do what everyone does. I'm just supposed to go to school and get a job and live in a rather dull existence. Committing to one video a week has been the first step that I'm taking to honoring the future that not only do I think that I want, but that I'm starting to finally realize that I deserve. I'm not normal. I race motorcycles and dirt bikes, and when I was growing up and the girls all wanted to wear pink and go shopping and put on foundation, I was too busy playing football and writing poetry. I had so much depth and light and power, and for years no one knew that. Because I was hiding under the confines of should be, I had this idea that I wasn't normal and I wasn't good enough, that my differences made me less worthy of a human being. So I started to act differently, and I wasn't being myself for years. Why? Because I'm not normal, and I hated that. I hated that I wasn't normal. I hated that when I walked into a room that people would notice me because of the way that I dressed or my personality or the things that I did for fun that were different than everyone else. So I compromised because I wanted to feel like I belonged. I started dressing differently, talking differently, acting differently. I hid under the shadow of other people. I made myself as small as possible, and I'm not gonna lie, for a little bit of my life that did feel pretty good. It felt good to just smooth cruise under the radar and not be noticed by anyone. It felt good until I started to realize that I wasn't being judged because I was bad. I was being judged because I was better. I read a book by Brené Brown a couple years ago called Daring Greatly. It's all about how the courage to stand up and lead a vulnerable life, to show up and be 100% authentically you, will lead to a better life. In that, she has a quote that has stayed with me since the first time that I read it. That people will most often shame us for things that they feel themselves about their own lives but are unable to express. And that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me that I was being judged not because I was inferior, but because people were looking at the way that I lived my life, the way that I was different, and the way that I was able to stand up in the things that made me me, and they were afraid of that. It completely shifted my mindset from being told that I needed to be more feminine and that boys weren't gonna like me and that I should be soft and that I should be more gentle. It hit me that people will try to soften your edges not because it's better for you, but because it's easier for them. It's easier for people to feel like they're doing the right thing when everyone acts the same. When everyone shows up to that 9-to-5 job and they're riddled with debt and they stay in a shitty marriage, what we're doing is that we're telling people that they can expect that behavior. And when we tell them that they can expect that, then that behavior is normalized. But the status quo isn't the status quo because it's the best circumstance. It's the status quo because it applies to the most people. So that's what people will do. They'll judge you when you'd rather race motorcycles than put on makeup and go to the mall. When I realized that people were judging me not because I was worse, but because I was doing something that they envied, that's when I started to take my power back. That's when I stopped living small and under people's shadows and fearing loss and all the other things that I've already talked about on this channel. And you know what? The same people who judged me and put me down for being different all my life, I still see some of them. Some of them I see in passing, and some of them are my family members. And you know what? They respect me now. Why? Because I'm different. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being different. I'm okay with being a YouTuber and a businessman. I'm okay with saying that, you know what? I don't want to just work in a 9-to-5 for the rest of my life. I'm okay with saying that I'm going to add meaning and value to this world, and I'm going to show up in a big way. And I have no problem saying this is not enough right now, and I am capable of giving myself better. So this is what I've learned. People will always have something to say. Good or bad, you show up and you do something immoral, someone's gonna think that that's good. You show up and you do a kind thing, and someone will find a reason to judge you. They'll find some hole in what you're doing. The reality is that you are the only person who has to live with the choices that you're making. So are you gonna show up because you've gotten validation from random strangers on the internet? Are you gonna not show up because some small person in your life has judged you for standing up in your power and doing what you want? If we're sourcing the reasons that we're doing things because of other people, we're never gonna be making choices because of the right reasons. Are you comfortable with feeling like someone else has decided how you're gonna use your time on this world? People can sense when you're unsure or unconfident, and a lot of them will exploit that to be able to shame you harder. Confidence pays dividends in the form of respect. If you show up and you've got that air of, I know why I'm here, I know what my worth is, and I know that no one's gonna get in my way, people aren't gonna stand up to you because they're afraid of people who know what they want. They'll leave you be, and you'll have more space to get what you want done in this life. So be confident, trust yourself, you're gonna make it. The status quo is normal because it applies to the most people, not because it's the best outcome. It took me so long to realize this. I mean, it's so hard, right? Like you see everyone following the same path in life more or less, and we kind of just adopt the reality that this is how the world should be. There's no one way the world should be. There's no one way that you should live your life, and it is so damaging to your humanity to believe that there's one set meaning for this world. We've got the power to shape whatever meaning we want. We've got the power to add value and to curate the life that we want. No one is gonna be able to stop you from that except for yourself. I used to have a fear that if I stood up and I said I don't want that, that there was gonna be something that I missed out on. I mean, like, why would so many people show up and have the same routine and basically the same life? What I realize is that being in the normal set of circumstances, it's not gonna keep you from an exciting life if you jump out of that. Rather, you're gonna save yourself from a pretty dull existence. We're all completely unique. No one has your set of skills and characteristics, and you want to leverage that set of skills in order to find the people who aren't interested in investing in you and the capabilities that that set of skills are going to be able to provide. There are probably thousands of self-improvement YouTubers on the internet, but how many of them also race motorcycles and come from a powerlifting background and write poetry? That set of skills is going to make me view the world in a very specific way that cannot be recreated. And people will think that that vantage point is important. The world does not need more status quo thinkers. In an oversaturated market, it pays to be the outlier. It pays to think differently. In a world where everyone's keeping up with the Joneses and trying to make sure that they kind of fit a model and routine that's already pre-existing and pre-accepted, it pays to be able to think differently. It pays to be able to stand up and add a value that others cannot. The world needs you, exactly as you are and how you wish to be. And that need isn't going anywhere. Being different is only going to be judged by people who are afraid of their own normalcy. Being different is really valued by this world because it pays to be a thinker, it pays to be unique and come out with a fresh perspective. I mean, that's the only way that we innovate and move forward. We don't innovate by constantly imitating each other. We have to move from 0 to 1, and the only way that we're able to do that is by having unique thinkers and fresh perspectives. Be you and cherish that. Why? Because I know if you're here, then you're different. The world and the right people within it will value that. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.